Hello, hello. Right now, you're in for a treat because one of the common questions that we get surrounding the notion of hypnotherapy for weight loss is whether a person should get hypnosis or hypnotherapy, or maybe they should do intermittent fasting. Which should I do? The idea that they're mutually exclusive misses the point a little bit. The science or the physics of weight loss is the same for everybody. In other words, in general, in order to lose weight, in general, we need to eat less and exercise more. You've heard of this for years. But the details of how to eat less and how to exercise more are going to vary according to body type, according to many, many situations. And it isn't always so easy to eat less and or exercise more. For instance, we all engage in mindless eating. We might go to the movie theater and pick up a bucket of popcorn and ingest a bunch of calories while watching a movie, not even noticing that we ate that much. Or we might eat for emotional reasons. We call that emotional eating. It's like I got upset with somebody, so I ate some cookies or ice cream, that kind of thing. There's also social eating. I wasn't really hungry, but I went out with my buddies, so we had a bucket of wings and beer and stuff like this. So all of that adds up. So when a person tells me, look, I'm perfectly capable of eating less and exercise more on my own, will I lose weight? Of course I will. The majority of us, about 50 million Americans, according to the CDC, have not succeeded in that practice. They try for a few days. At the beginning of the year, we have all these resolutions. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to exercise more. I'm going to sign up for the gym. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But then it fizzles. And the reason why it fizzles is because in the subconscious portion of the mind, we have these ideas that inform us to do otherwise according to habit, according to tradition, according to what we have always done. So for a few days, we can use willpower. I can use my intention, my willpower. I can be strong minded. I can use my will and overcome the habits. And perhaps if I never ate a salad, today I'll have a salad and tomorrow as well. But then eventually it's like, forget about the salad, give me the cake instead. You see, we go back to habits. Why do we use hypnosis for weight loss? Because that is how we change our minds. That's how we take away desire for foods that are not conducive to weight loss, how we install habits that are long term. That is how we develop enjoyment for different levels of physical activity. In other words, that is how we install new habits, new ideas in the subconscious portion of the mind so that we can keep up with the physical changes required for weight loss. In other words, I want to make this really clear. The way you lose weight with hypnosis, it's not like in hypnosis we suck the weight out of the body. It's not like liposuction where they stick the needle and pull the fat out. That's not what happens. When you use hypnosis, you use it to change your mind, to desire different kinds of foods, to feel good moving around, walking more, climbing the stairs, to do different kinds of things, which as a result will generate the weight loss. In other words, the weight loss physically comes from changes in habits long term. But those changes in habits require a change in your mind. That's where the hypnosis comes in. So join me as I review this article with the 9 scientifically proven ways to lose weight. And I'm going to show you that all 9 of them require a change in your mind. If you can do even 4 or 5 of those things on your own, you will lose weight. And I bless you if you can do that. And I'm not challenging, I'm just saying, oh, it's possible. Of course, many people can. That's why not everybody is overweight, right? But about 50 million Americans are overweight and obese, which means that for a bunch of us, doing those 9 things consistently isn't so easy. That's where hypnosis, that's how someone like me comes in and helps you implement those changes so that you can be successful in your weight loss journey. All right, so let's review this article. Let me show you how it's all a mental game. If you can win the mental game, you will lose weight because you will implement different habits. So let's go there together. Join me. Okay, so I'm on my Google page. I'm going to type in weight loss. I've done that before. So we go over here. I want to show you one particular page that caught my attention. It says here how to lose weight fast, 9 scientific ways to drop fast. This is from the Medical News Today. I want to discuss this page with you because I think it is important that we clarify this. Let's check this out together. So it says here, I'm going to read it with you, but there are a couple of points that I want to make here. It says many diet, supplements, and meal replacement plans claim to ensure rapid weight loss. While most lack scientific evidence, science has shown that some strategies can have an impact on weight management. So it's important that we understand this here. So these are science-backed ways to lose weight. This is what we want. We want something that has been tested, something that has passed the rigors of the scientific method, something that has been shown to be effective, and more importantly, that is not harmful to our health. So the very methods of weight loss the scientific research supports include the following. So include the following. It's not the only thing, but it includes the following. And there are 9 of them here. I want to discuss each one of them with you briefly. So the first one is intermittent fasting. There are several studies that say there's a whole bunch of references here. Intermittent fasting essentially, and again, there's a ton of information out there, but look at it. Look at this part here. It says the 16-8 method. So you do not eat anything for 16 hours, and then for 8 hours is when you eat. And for most people, that translates into 2 or 3 meals a day with absolutely no snacking in between, like during the 16 hours, nothing but water. And the reason why that works, and again, it's a somewhat complex topic and the science of it, but in essence, what happens is you give your gastrointestinal tract, your stomach and intestines, time to rest. That is important because when we are not eating, blood sugar levels drop, insulin levels drop. And when insulin levels drop, that is the only time the body has an opportunity to pull fat from fat stores. People who do calorie restrictive diets, like the regular dieting, they just eat fewer calories, they get hungry all the time. So they're told to eat snacks in between. I have seen this, people, professionals advising people to eat 6 to 10 meals a day, that including snacks. So 3 to 4 meals a day and snacks in between, because when they restrict calories, they eat just a little bit, they're always hungry. What happens when we eat that frequently is that insulin remains high all the time. When insulin remains high, the body cannot, by biochemical reasons, cannot pull fat from the fat stores. This is why people drop out of the programs, because they've been sacrificing, they've been going hungry, they become lethargic and cold because they're lacking energy, they're lacking nutrition, but the body has no access to the fat. So they're not losing weight. They become disillusioned with the diet. It's like it's not working. I'm sacrificing and I'm not losing weight. Might as well have the chocolate, might as well have the cookies. And they go right back. And this is when we gain weight, typically more than what we lost. And this is what they call yo-yo dieting, because you go up and down in weight, up and down in weight. And each time, unfortunately, we lose more. We lose muscle, we lose bone mass, and depending on your age, and then you end up getting more fat, a higher proportion of fat. So this is really unfortunate. Intermittent fasting solves that problem by giving your body a rest, lowering insulin levels, and allowing the body to begin pulling fat from fat stores. And the reason why, it's a sound system. It works. It's being scientifically tested. What happens is that you will notice each one of these 9 methods that have been scientifically tested require an adjustment in our mindset. This is important because people ask me, well, should I do intermittent fasting or should I do hypnosis for weight loss? They're not mutually exclusive. If you can do intermittent fasting on your own, that has been tested and proven to work. The problem is that for a lot of us, intermittent fasting is not such an easy thing to do for emotional reasons. For instance, we might feel sad, so we have a bowl of ice cream during the fasting period, so we blow through the intermittent fasting. Or maybe for social reasons, we call this emotional eating and social eating. I went out with my buddy, they invited me for wings and beer. I blew right through my intermittent fast. We cannot say no socially. Of course, again, if a person can intermittent fast, they're fine. But for the majority of us, we need a change in mindset in order to be able to implement intermittent fasting. If you can implement intermittent fasting, it will work. You will lose weight. It has been proven. It has been, I don't have to prove it to you. It's been proven by many scientists. But the difficulty is that without an accompanying change at the level of the subconscious mind, most people do not keep up with intermittent fasting long enough for it to work for them for permanent weight loss. So we need a change at the subconscious mind for us to implement this new way of eating because it isn't how most people are used to eating. If it were, we wouldn't have nearly 50 million Americans overweight or obese, according to the CDC. So, the second method they suggest is to track diet and exercise. This is very interesting because a myriad of studies prior to these types of studies suggest that what we think we eat isn't exactly what we're eating. They've done studies in which, they ask people, they invite people to a cocktail party where they have like cameras and stuff, and they tell people that they're there for a social experiment, but in reality, they're tracking everything people eat. And at the end of the meeting, they ask people in a questionnaire about the meeting itself, but in those questions, there are many questions about what they ate, and people report what they ate. And remember, there are cameras all over, everything is being measured. So they've shown that what we think we eat is different from we actually ate. People underreport what they eat. So I might have 3 cookies at a party, but if you ask me, not because I'm lying, but because I kind of forget, right? So I think I ate a cookie, yes. So we report 1 cookie, but we ate 3. This goes into the category of mindless eating. And you're going to see the number 3 here says eat mindfully. So we don't really know what we ate. You might pick up a box of cookies to watch a movie, thinking of eating 1 or 2, but next thing you know, you ate the entire box. So number 2 and number 3 on this list, tracking what you eat and eating mindfully go hand in hand. When you track, you begin to eat more mindfully. The thing is that we don't really know what we're eating, and so we tend to over report exercise and under report what we eat. That's what accounts for the about 50 million overweight and obese Americans, according to the CDC, because we don't, it's mindlessness, right? So the way tracking works is if I begin to write down everything, there's a feedback loop there. It tells me, look, I didn't just eat 4 cookies, I actually ate 18 cookies. Like, okay, that feedback will inform me. Maybe next time I'll limit myself to 3 cookies, that kind of thing, right? But this goes right into number 3, eat mindfully. So things like sitting down to eat, things like particularly eating very, or not very, but eating slowly. This works really, really well. This is a really important one, not only because you savor food, and not only because you enjoy it more, but also because your satiety signals, like what tells your brain that you've eaten enough for you to stop eating. There are several mechanisms. There are some neurological ones, like stretch receptors in the stomach, that tells your brain your stomach is full. Those go through nerves. But you also have hormones such as leptin and some other ones that tell the body that you have enough nutrition in the body. And those hormonal signals can take up to 30 minutes to work. So if I eat, not to work, but to for those pathways to signal the brain that we've eaten enough. So if I eat really, really, really fast, by the time I feel full, I have already overeaten. So eating slowly has proven to result in eating less, which of course will then result in losing weight, maintaining your weight. So eating mindfully is a big key to weight loss. But again, reporting or tracking what I eat and exercise and eating mindfully, these go together. It's a huge mental exercise because first of all, the way tracking really works for weight loss is a mental feedback. Oh, I am eating more calories than I need. You look at your diary and you realize that you're overeating and under exercising. So it's a mental game to then adjust tomorrow and say, let me eat a little bit less. But what I want to emphasize here is that, of course, if you can keep up the habit of tracking everything and you look at your diary every day and you make adjustments every day, you will lose weight. The thing is that we don't, because it requires a mental change, it requires a new habit to be installed. And so typically we adopt a new habit, we do it for a few days, and then we drop it. It's not long enough to actually produce weight loss. So, if you want to just track everything you eat and be really scientific about it in order to lose weight, you're going to have to install those habits into your mind at the level of the subconscious in order for this to work long term for you to lose weight permanently. Same thing with mindful eating. You might eat mindfully today and tomorrow, but then, habit takes over again and we end up resorting back to inhaling food, as they sometimes say, and not thinking about it, which will then result in weight gain again. So, eating protein for breakfast, this is a little of an uncomfortable topic because back in the 50s and the early 60s, they started studying heart disease and noticed that when a person died of heart disease, when you open up their arteries, they would find fatty streaks, they're called, in the arteries, in the major arteries. They decided that the fat was coming from the diet and told people to eat less fat and less protein. Well, that translated into a very sugary breakfast. They said that breakfast was the most important meal of the day. You've heard of these things, and people were encouraged to eat things like orange juice and waffles and pancakes and stuff like this, which is a super high sugar diet. Cereals, I mean, cereal became a huge industry, and with milk and chocolate milk and all this stuff, right? And syrup on your pancakes, all of that. Well, that of course would make a person hungry by, an hour and a half to 2 hours later. They would be super hungry. So they were told then to have snacks. And of course, eating sugary breakfasts and snacking all day is the recipe for creating obesity and diabetes. So there are years and years and years of programming there. Have your orange juice, have your pancakes for breakfast, that kind of thing. Cereals, cereals are really healthy, and they purchase all of these athletes to advertise cereals. Those athletes do not eat those cereals for breakfast, but they put their pictures on the box to tell kids to eat them. So of course, um, it's not it's not a very good idea, but that's what we're told to do. And people do it and they become obese and diabetic. And then, of course, they're told to take medication. So there's no question that if you change the way you eat your breakfast, and again, this is not my opinion, this is medical news today, this has been researched. Look, it says here researched. You can look into this research. And of course, if you change the way you eat, you're going to lose weight. Again, the question here is if you can make these changes long term enough, you're done. Make the changes, lose the weight. But there are 50 million Americans, according to the CDC, who are overweight and obese. And it could be because they don't know that eating protein for breakfast is a good idea. It could be that, or it also more likely it's that they tried for a few days, but they drop back into a habit of, grabbing a muffin quickly, walking out of the house, mindlessly eat 2 or 3 muffins on their way to work. In other words, most likely it isn't that people don't know what works. Most likely it is that we try to install new habits, but after a few days, we drop it and we go back to the old ways of eating. If it is a matter of a habit, because all of these techniques work long term, one day of eating protein will not lose any weight. It's a long term thing, right? So, in order to install a habit long term, we're going to need to make changes in the mind at the level of the subconscious. So, otherwise, we're going to revert back to old habits. So, weight loss the right way, the healthy way, is a long term project. It might take many months, it might take over a year for you to adjust your weight, depending on where you started off. If you want to do it the healthy way, and it is possible, even if you are obese, it is possible, but it's going to take a while. And obesity, when a person tells me that they're 300 pounds overweight, I'm sorry to tell you, but that did not happen overnight. That took years to build up that level of weight, years of not eating appropriately to gain 300 excess pounds. Years. It's a lifetime of habits. It is not immediate, it's not quick. So the expectation that somehow I can lose all that weight and magically be done in a matter of weeks or days or whatever, that expectation in of itself needs to be looked at a therapeutic level. The expectation itself is very concerning. It's a little bit delusional. And of course, I don't use these words in a disrespectful way. After all, I'm a therapist. I use these words in a technical way. But the idea that a person can overeat for 40 years, let's say, resulting in 300 pounds excess weight, suddenly they take a pill or they have one surgery and magically all their weight disappears. That notion is delusional. It has to be addressed. The notion itself needs to be addressed. So, adjusting your weight is a long term project. It might take anywhere from 6 months to 1 year to 2 years. It depends on where you started out. Of course, the person is 20 pounds overweight. It's not the same thing as being 200 pounds overweight. The degree of the problem is not just the amount of weight, it's also what's happening in the person's mind. Think about it. If I gain the 20 pounds excess weight and I look in the mirror, my pants don't fit me, and I start taking action to correct that, right? You would say, okay, you gained 20 pounds, you're stressed out, now your pants are too tight. So you realize that and you start losing weight and you adjust that back. Now imagine what happens to the person who gained 200 pounds excess weight. The mechanism, the feedback loop, that sight in the mirror of my body bulging, my pants not fitting, the whole feedback loop is not working. In other words, I know that my clothes don't fit anymore. I'm 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 50 pounds overweight, and I keep on gaining weight. In other words, it isn't just a metabolic issue. It isn't just an eating disorder, problem. It's also a mental issue because that person is not taking stock of their situation as their weight is increasing. The feedback loop that informs me, dude, I'm gaining weight. I got to do something about this. That mechanism is broken. So a person who weighs 200 pounds excess, in addition to their normal body weight, an additional 2, 3, 400 pounds, there's something. So the problem is not only physiological, is not only physical, is highly mental because we're not noticing what's happening for years. Something is not clicking, right? So it has to be addressed. So number 5 here is almost. I remember in medical school, it's a known fact in science that excess weight is a risk factor for diabetes, for cardiovascular disease, for stroke, for all kinds of problems. Right? It's a known fact. This is not news. And we were told, we have to counsel the patient. We were trained to counsel the patient. Okay, the person comes in, we measure their weight, their height, their BMI, as we call it, and body mass index. And then you tell Mr. Jones, you're overweight. I advise you to modify your diet and exercise more, eat less, exercise more. And I used to discuss this with my professors in medical school. I always thought that was offensive. And I think it is offensive because I'm not sure that there really is a person who doesn't know that in order to lose weight, they have to eat less and exercise more. I'm not sure that that's news. I don't know that you need a doctor to tell you that. I think it's a known fact. The thing is that we can't. eat less and exercise more for various reasons. And so when a person says, okay, cut back on sugar and refined carbohydrates, breads, puddings, cakes, muffins, that kind of thing, cut back on that stuff and you're going to lose weight. I don't know the data on this. I don't know the scientific answer to this question. It would be really interesting to do a study and ask a number of people who are overweight and obese if they actually did not know, actually, you know, their entire mind, their cognitive entirety of who they are, did not know that it would be a good idea to cut back on sugar and refined carbohydrates. I doubt that that's the case. I think that most people know that, and yet um, it's not so easy. I'm the first one to tell you. For instance, I enjoy eating chocolate occasionally. I'm doing much better now. I eat much less of it, but there's an obvious association between emotions and eating high calorie foods like chocolate, for instance. I think everybody knows this. We call them comfort foods. So I think it's a known fact there. And so when certain issues arise or certain emotions come up, and I say, wow, I wish I had a piece of chocolate right now, it takes a huge amount of subconscious training to not have the piece of chocolate and deal with emotion differently. Otherwise, like a drug, and I've been there, we just go back and pick up a piece of chocolate or a cookie or the ice cream and we eat that to soothe the emotions. So if the person is in an emotional situation where, for whatever reason, they gotta eat ice cream and cookies and chocolate every night to deal with whatever problems they're having, it is really no different from telling an alcoholic, oh, really, you shouldn't drink. You know, you don't think an alcoholic who's been to jail, get a problem in traffic, they crashed their car, they lost their marriage. You don't think that the person knows that they perhaps should not drink as much or not drink at all, maybe? You think that that's the issue? Oh, I didn't know that drinking causes me to get drunk and crash my car. I had no idea. It's obviously not the case, right? I mean, they know that it's damaging their lives, but for whatever reason, they cannot stop it, and we call that an addiction. So when we overeat for whatever reason, other than because we're undernourished, right? I mean, other than for hunger reasons, true hunger, we don't call that an addiction, most likely, but it's exactly what it is. So telling a person, oh, you maybe should eat less sugar and that will cause some weight loss, it's almost offensive. It's no different from telling an alcoholic, maybe you shouldn't drink, it's already cost your career, your marriage, and your car, maybe you should quit drinking. I think that person knows that, and they wish they could, most likely. But because of the addictive processes, they cannot. And sugar and the types of foods that we overeat that account for excess weight are highly addictive. There's no question about this. There are a ton of studies on this. So, yes, if you can cut back on sugar, you will lose weight. But most likely, we can't unless we change our minds at the level of the subconscious. And this is where the hypnosis comes in. It's not a substitute. In other words, it's not like you come in for hypnosis and you continue eating the same amount of sugar and somehow, because you're hypnotized, you lost weight. It's not how it works. The way it works is you address the emotions around food and you end up eating less sugar. And as a result of eating less sugar, you end up losing weight. So, fiber, number 6, eating plenty of fiber. Same thing. In other words, that would be like raw vegetables type of thing, right? I mean, that is most of your fiber comes from raw vegetables, salads, and stuff like this. If you are into that, God bless you. Eat the fiber. But if you're not into that, without a change in your mind, you're going to have that stuff, 2 or 3 days and stop it. We go back to the same thing. Balancing gut bacteria. Of course, a ton of studies show that this will help with weight loss. But notice that in order to balance gut bacteria, we have to change the way we eat. Look here, eat a wide variety of plants. We have to avoid fermented foods. We need to incorporate some prebiotic foods. In other words, what do we need to do? We need to change the way we eat. And the way we eat is highly determined by habits. So if you can change your diet to the degree that you balance your gut bacteria on your own, fine. God bless you. You're on your way to losing weight. It will work. It's been studied. It's been proven. The question is, what if you are, let's say, addicted to too much sugar, like number six, right? Or number five? You eat too much sugar. So what happens is you're feeding the yeast in your gut, and you're getting a lot of gas and a lot of bloating and all of that stuff. And I tell you, look, you need to balance your gut bacteria. Don't eat any more sugar. If you can, fine. If not, that's where the hypnosis comes in, to help you change your mind so that you can do what you knew you should do but haven't been able to do. Number 8 and 9, we're going to put them together in some way, because managing stress levels and getting a good night's sleep. When a person comes in to see me for weight loss, the first thing we address is how you're sleeping, because this has been proven in so many studies that weight loss starts with a good night's sleep, because it reduces cortisol levels, it affects insulin metabolism. It is where we start. There's in one of my books, Awesome Again, there's a whole chapter on the power of sleep, not only for mental reasons, for clarity, for memory, for managing emotions, but also for physical health reasons. So there's a whole chapter there. This is a big deal. But I think everybody knows that if we're way too stressed out, it will interfere with sleep, and lack of sleep will increase stress levels. And that's why I kind of lump those two together in the discussion. But the important point for us here today is that both sleep and stress levels are highly determined by by the mind. And so, again, I repeat, when a person comes to see me for weight loss, we start with your sleep, and I help you sleep better in order to begin the process of losing weight or adjusting your weight. So once again, if an overweight person suddenly decides that they're overweight and now they want to adjust their weight, I want to emphasize the improbability of that, right? So for 20 years, I was 100 pounds overweight, but I never noticed. Suddenly, I realized that I'm overweight. Now I want to lose weight in a couple of weeks. You see how that whole notion is not quite true? For 20 years, you didn't notice that you're overweight. I mean, it isn't true, right? So that denial has to be dealt with and all of this stuff. But let's just say that for whatever reason or in whatever way, the person is now ready to tackle the excess weight issue. And then you tell them, look, it's been scientifically proven. You have to get a good night's sleep and manage your stress levels. They say, okay, doc, done. And now I can sleep, 8 to 9 hours. I'm not suggesting that that's the right number. I'm just giving you an example. Now I can sleep very deeply for 9 hours every night, and I have zero stress during the day. Great. They're going to start losing weight. But do you think it's that obvious? In other words, they're stressed out because of their finances, because of their relationships, because of their job, their boss. And so when we talk about managing stress, it becomes a hugely mental issue that needs to be addressed therapeutically. And we use a ton of hypnosis for that. Oh, if you only knew, my boss screams at me and I get so agitated, I go downstairs and I have a snack. I know. So that's a trigger, right? So we need to defeat that trigger. How do you think we do that? We use hypnosis. And again, we go back to the fact that all of the scientific notions that would account in weight loss are true. They've been proven, they've been studied, if we can do them long term. Because having one good night's sleep will not cause you to lose 200 pounds. But consistently sleeping well, consistently managing your stress levels, consistently eating less sugar, and all of these other recommendations, that will account for permanent weight loss. The question is, in order to implement these changes or any other change, we need a change in the mind first. Otherwise, they become a short term thing. I do this for a couple of days and eventually revert back to the old habits. So I want to end this conversation or this review by saying, look, It's not mutually exclusive. It's not sleeping well versus getting hypnosis for weight loss. It's not that. It's that we need physical changes in behavior that will generate the weight loss. But those physical changes in behaviors oftentimes require changing the mind first. Otherwise, we don't keep up with them. So, what I do when it comes to weight loss is I help you change your mind about yourself. I help you change the way you see yourself, the whole denial thing. Am I overweight or not? When a person tells me, well, I didn't realize I'm overweight. Well, the very fact that we don't realize says something about our mental state. When a person says, well, why can't I lose, I can just get surgery and lose 100 pounds. And well, that is equally, the belief is misguided. It's not true. It's not going to happen that way. No matter who told you that, it won't happen that way. But so the person has to, why are we being so naive? Why are we having those beliefs that are simply not true, right? We have to address all of this. And then they say, okay, I realize what I have to do. I have to eat more healthily. I have to change the way I eat. I got you. But in order to do that, we're going to have to make some other changes, right? Changing the mind first so that you can sustain those changes. That's how hypnosis for weight loss works. It isn't a substitute for behavior and dietary changes. It is the way you implement the changes long term. All right. And again, if you can implement all of these changes long term on your own, you don't need hypnosis. You've already changed your mind. You've done it. You got it. But what about the 50 million or so Americans, according to the CDC, who are overweight or obese? It could be that they don't know anything that we're discussing here. It could also be that they tried but couldn't do it. That's where the hypnosis comes in. You see? So it's not like get hypnosis instead of changing the way you eat and you lose weight. Think about that. That doesn't make any sense. It is that we use hypnosis to change the mind in order to change the way we eat and move in order to lose weight. Okay? Blessings to all of you. Mega, mega blessings. All right. So if you watched the video this long, this far, I really salute you. I really commend you for your perseverance. You're well on your way to success. If you can implement those changes that we just discussed, eating less sugar, eating more fiber, getting a good night's sleep, if you can make those changes, even a few of them, you will be on your way to a trimmer, slimmer body, a healthier body. There's no question about it. But it does not work overnight. Doing any one of those things once or twice will not produce much results, appreciable results. What you need is long-term changes. So you need to install new habits. If you install those habits on your own, you will succeed, and you can. But if you need help installing those habits, if you need help managing your stress, if you need help getting a better night's sleep, if you need help cutting back on sugar, emotional eating, social eating, if you need help with any of those changes, then that's what a good, your friendly neighborhood hypnotherapist is for. Hypnotherapists are professionals trained to help you change your mind about yourself at the level of the mind where it counts, at the level of the subconscious mind, because that's where the habits come from. So people ask me, what is the shortcut to weight loss? The shortcut is to change your mind about yourself at the level of the subconscious, because then you will naturally desire different types of things, such as different types of foods and different types of activity levels, which will, as a result, create the weight loss and the body of your dreams. Okay, so please work with a hypnotherapist if you need if you want to adjust your weight. It's really, really important. And the reason why it's really important, and I mean this sincerely, is because excess weight is a known risk factor for many, many, many diseases, which are really, really sad. This weekend, I was talking to somebody socially, right? So they were not consulting me professionally, but in the midst of the conversation, this man mentioned to me how his father is being overweight, severely overweight, and a diabetic. I mean, those go hand in hand, and how his health is rapidly deteriorating. So weight loss isn't just about how you look at the beach in bikinis. Weight loss is about whether your loved ones are going to stick around much longer or not. So it's a huge health risk. It's an important thing to address. It isn't cosmetics only. It isn't how you look only. It's really about your life. And that's why I say, please work with your friendly neighborhood hypnotherapist in order to install habits that have been studied and shown to produce permanent weight loss, provided that we do them long term. That's where your hypnotist comes in to help you achieve the change in your mind that results in new eating patterns, in new activity types, so that you can lose weight sustainably, healthily, and permanently. So if you're getting value out of these videos, if this types of information, please consider subscribing to the channel. I would love to have you as part of our community. We're building a community here of people who love one another, support one another. We're happy for one another when we succeed. And when we drop off or when we slip, when we fall, which I do as well, it's incredible how the support of the community gets us back on the saddle and back on our horses again, if you will, and back on track again. And we just keep on going because we know that we're not alone. We're social creatures, social beings, and it's important to be a part of a community. I invite you to come in, be a part of this community. I upload body shape or weight loss types of videos once every week on Tuesdays. But throughout the week, I upload videos on different topics. Monday, prosperity mindset. Tuesday, weight loss, body remodeling. Wednesday, hypnosis, the mind, addictions. Thursday, burnout recovery, including job burnout. Friday, relationship issues, all seen from the perspective of a hypnotherapist who's been doing this for 25 years, a philosopher, somebody who's been doing this for a while, a professor of mystical philosophy. So I address these topics from that perspective. So I welcome you into the channel. I appreciate you subscribing, liking the video, sharing the video. And it's important that you share the video because I explain this in a way that makes it easy for people to accept and make changes. I help you make changes on your own. The idea here is that you can succeed, but also you have the support, my support and the support of the community if you need help achieving your goals. All right? Mega, mega blessings to all of you.